I said I'd come back to Olympia. You know what? I'm not lying, bro. I would like to do this Arnold Classic in 8 weeks.
What's going on, guys? Rob with the Bodybuilding Anchor here. In today's story, we have some interesting news coming out of the Cutler cast. In his most recent episode, Jay has been talking about adding mass and kind of getting into show-ready condition. Jay has been talking about pretty much competing for, I don't know, over the last several months. There's been many times in his podcast it's been brought up, it's been asked about, and he keeps saying no, 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 but he said that he would compete for $1 million as a joke, and then a fan actually offered him $1 million, so he had to go up the ante to $10 million, so I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I'm sure somebody will offer the $10 million eventually because it's Jay Cutler. But in all honesty, I think if Jay did compete again, it would be great for the sport. I think just having his name out there would create a lot of attention, and it would probably bring back some old fans and also generate some new fans. This would probably make some major headlines if you had Jay Cutler competing in the Olympia again. Anyway, let's take a look and see what he said in the podcast here.
So let's talk about you're gonna be 50 soon. So let's talk
doing
about
this Fit for 50
what's
challenge.
wrong
A lot
with
of people
Fit
are a
for
little
50?
confused about this. Actually, I walked into Elevation that Peter's like, so tell me about this 50 thing. I'm on the way to getting bigger now, right? So I'm trying to eat my meals. As you see, I have meals. I have trifecta meals sitting in the fridge here, back here. So what my goal right now is to eat 5 portionate meals a day. I'd like to go to 6, okay? Now, I back down the morning cardio. Ideally, I'm trying to build up the body, get some real, I guess a little size, but not really try to put on weight, if that makes sense. I want to get a little more fullness. I'm going to treat it like I'm going to start like getting closer to a competition type.
Jay has said some things in the past that makes me think he's a little self-conscious about his size. He wouldn't want to get on stage and try to compete and kind of not show up looking his best. He wouldn't want people to see him and think he was small. This photo here was taken last year when Regan was prepping for a show. As you can see, I mean, Jay still has quite a bit of size. He looks wider than Regan here. His chest is still looking good. You can see it popping out through his shirt, and his arms are still looking pretty good. If Jay took his training and diet seriously, I think he could easily add quite a bit of mass to that frame. Right now, Jay isn't really eating serious. He's probably just eating whatever, not tracking anything. He's definitely not eating enough to add any size. Jay has also mentioned he's thinking about getting a coach to track his food and nutrition. So if Jay gets a coach and his food and nutrition are on point, I think he will easily add quite a bit of mass to that frame. And Jay already walks around in pretty good condition, so conditioning is not going to be an issue for him. If he needs to get in shape for a show, it's going to be very simple, I think. Obviously, Jay isn't going to be as good as he was back in the 2000s, but I think it would be very interesting for him to step on stage again. It would create a lot of commotion in the bodybuilding world, and if Jay got back on stage again, I think it would definitely entice other former bodybuilders to maybe come back and do a show. Can you imagine if you had Jay Cutler and Phil Heath competing on stage again, how much publicity that would get? Now, obviously, Phil Heath is quite a bit younger than Jay, but, I mean, have them side by side on stage, those two former Olympias, like some of the greatest Olympias in history. I personally would love to see that. Here we have a comparison photo from Jay back in, I would say, probably the 90s in this photo. And Jay on the right here, I'm not sure exactly when that was taken, but it's definitely been in the past few years. So looking at this comparison photo, I mean, Jay has really held the shape very well. The chest structure is still there, just down a little bit in size. Shoulders and arms, still quite a bit of detail. Actually a pretty good cap there in that shoulder. And like I said before, Jay's conditioning is always pretty good year-round. As you can see in this photo there, he's probably, I would say, somewhere around 10 to 12% body fat here. And albeit his skin is obviously not as tight, but I mean, that happens once you get 49, 50 years old. So if Jay is going to try to add size to that frame right there, I don't think it's going to take very long. He probably hasn't pushed the food seriously in probably 10 years plus. So once he starts pushing that food, that body's going to respond very quick. So I know Jay isn't going to look like that when he starts pushing the food just because he's in his 50s. And if he were to diet down and get show ready, he's going to look pretty damn good. Now, I'm not sure what Jay's legs look right now. I'm sure they're down in size too. But I mean, he can definitely bring the detail back in those quite easily, I would think. So with that being said, I'm definitely looking forward to following Jay's progress once he starts adding size and getting a coach. Well, Jay has worked with Chris Aceto and Hani for essentially his whole career. So I'm thinking he's going to have one of those coaches help him out, more likely Chris Aceto. Once he gets his coach, it's probably going to be Chris Aceto or Hani Rambab, one of the two. It'll be very interesting to see how his physique turns out. And I have a hunch that the talk about him competing is going to be brought up more and more and more, especially once he starts dieting down and adding mass. That's going to be brought up all the time, and I think for sure he's going to step on stage again. And when he does, it's going to be absolutely nuts. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know in the comments, do you think Jay is actually going to step on stage again, or am I just out to lunch? Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.